Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. It's Season 5, Episode 5, and today we're back, and it's not a match day as you can see. It's also not transfer deadline day or anywhere around mid-March for our youth intake. So you know what that means, we've got a job offer to consider. Obviously, as those of you who watched the last episode will know, we left it on a bit of a cliffhanger, not knowing who we'd be managing in the next episode. We were almost certain we were going to get a job offer from somewhere else, but we didn't know if it would be a high enough level that we'd want to take it. Now, I did find a few ways round the board ultimatum we had in the last episode where we were told we couldn't apply for any more jobs. But what it didn't stop me doing was answering press questions about jobs or going and just declaring interest rather than applying. That's worked really well for me since. I've used it for a few championship teams and we've been offered lots of interviews just off the bat, including by the team we've got a job offer from today. We've not declared interest in this job, we didn't apply for it, we've just been offered an interview and subsequently the job. So it's going to be interesting to see who it is. If you want to have a guess, don't cheat. You can put it down in the comments who you think it's going to be. Pick a club at random. The only clue I'll give you is it is in England. I know a couple of people have said whether we'd be moving abroad in this save. I'd absolutely love to. It's just that we normally can't until our reputation gets to 2.5, 3 stars. For now, it's a little bit too low, so we'll probably need one more step in England. But before that, I'm going to give you a chance to get your guesses in by showing you what's happened since the last episode. We've left it about a week longer than we were planning to, just because we knew there was a job offer and interviews on the horizon. So you were with me for the 1-0 win against Nottingham Forest, a really brilliant performance from the lads. We followed that up with a comeback in the Checkatrade Trophy. We were 2-1 down after an hour. Lee Thomas came off the bench and got a hat-trick. Brilliant work from him. We then won 3-1 away to Wigan, Thomas with a brace again and a Ben Kennedy penalty. What we do to have a penalty taker as good as him in our other story with Torquay. We then lost 2-0 at Rotherham, very comfortable win for them there, and followed it up with a terrible home defeat against Bradford. We threw it away in the last 10 minutes in what was a relatively even game, the only positive being that Thomas did score again. Then 3 back-to-back wins at the start of January, Exeter away 3-1, Berry with a brace back to his best in that one, and Stuart Walland with a late goal. The same score at Northampton in the following match, Kennedy with a brace this time, and Leon Smart as all the goals came from midfield. We then narrowly beat Burton at home, one of the job offers we were thinking we were going to get. We didn't get that one in the end, so anyone who's guessed that, you're wrong already. A month and a half later, and they just declined us at this point. Ben Kennedy used that as a motivation and got a brace to win us the game. We then lost disappointingly at home to mid-table Doncaster. 1 goal near the start, 1 near the end, and it was probably our worst performance of the lot. But then we narrowly beat Oxford on penalties in the Checkatrade Trophy. We were 3-1 down in this one and 2-0 before that, but Smart and then a 93rd minute Flores goal got us into the penalty shootout where we scored all of our penalties, a stark contrast to our Torquay side. So we leave the club flying high in 5th position, although it looks like they're about to dismantle our squad just for the sake of bringing in some money. So as well as having a couple of injuries to the likes of Ferry and McCart, who were first choice players beforehand, they've also decided to accept offers for Mark McKee, who's about to leave for around 40,000. They also had an offer for Flores they accepted, but luckily he rejected the club. That was only around 100,000. He signed a new deal just before, so I'm not quite sure why they did that. I guess just to raise the money. Luke Wilkinson wants to leave the club, which is a bit of a shame. Tamelti's about to leave on loan, and they're going to be back to 17 or 18 players again. So there are plenty of positives at the club, but there are also a lot of worries moving forward. I can't see them staying at this level for long. But as we leave Stevenage in 5th place in League One, we say well done to the lads who have helped us along, and well done to ourselves this time as well. In previous jobs we've had varying success. Obviously the first one at Hemel Hempstead, we had a nightmare squad of over 35s who just wanted to run the dressing room. Not ideal for a new young manager with fresh ideas who wants to really play a high pressing game. We then went to Dungannon where we had a really good young squad, but unfortunately the boardroom was deluded and expected instant success with 16 and 17 17-year-olds in the team. We also then went to Slough, a club we really enjoyed, but I don't know that we can take all the credit for that because the director of football was largely good, the board were excellent, and the fans were really good, getting on board and increasing attendances too. We had some real star players in that one as well, so I didn't feel like it was all me. Whereas this one, we've pretty much had to work alone. Myself and Paul Jewell have been a dream team here, and hopefully my new director of football sees how well we work together and brings Paul Jewell along for the ride. But let's go and put you out of your misery. You want to see who it is? Where are we going to? It is Barnsley. Barnsley, who are currently 22nd in the Championship, in fact 23rd now. There's obviously been a game since we had the interview, but they've got some real standout players. 3 of their attacking players are worth £3, £5 and £6 million, including Corley Woodrow, who came through at Luton. He's now in his peak and looking good. They've got another £6 million player who's injured at the moment. He's only out for a few weeks, and then one who's suspended in a couple of million as well. So we should be able to get them out of trouble. We've said that we'll avoid a relegation battle, not just avoid relegation. So we're sort of looking at lower mid-table for the end of the season. We're only 2 points off safety, so I'm confident with the squad we've got we can do that. We'll meet the players in a bit more detail at the moment, but we want to get this job offer over the line. So you can see the biggest change in terms of realism, whether this was a step up a division or not, is the wages. You have to understand in real life that you'd accept this. Our existing contract at Stevenage is £1,100 a week. They have tried to offer us a new deal a couple of times, but the maximum they are willing to give us is 1.4. So this is taking us to a whole new level, and we're basically earning a Championship wage now. We've got a 1.5-year deal on the table, so even if we fail, go down and get sacked at the end of the season, we're going to have a payoff of a year, so we should be alright for that one. We're going to try and eke it up towards 9,000, and we're going to match up the relegation and promotion clauses in the middle. We don't want to lose too much of our wage if we go down. Let's see what they say about that. Straight up to 8.5, so that looks fairly promising. Let's just try it again. Fingers crossed, everyone. We have just times our wage by 8 and a bit. What a fantastic deal. We're moving up to the Championship and we're managing a higher level than ever before. We'll accept this job offer. We'll thank Stevenage for their time and we'll be back in a moment to introduce you to our new team. Welcome back to Barnsley. We're in the Championship. We're managing in the second tier of English football. Not a bad achievement for 5 seasons in, or not even quite 5 full seasons in. Certainly going to have a lot of clubs to round up in our end of season review. We're going to do a 5 years in the future where we look at the world of football and all the clubs we've managed at so far. We're on our 5th team in 5 seasons, so we've got a lot to get through in that one. But that's for the end of the season. Now we're focused on Barnsley. We don't want to get sacked and make it 6. We just want to go and have a look at the history of the club to see how they've been doing since this save started. So the first season in the league, they finished 5th in League One. They then got promoted the second year and finished 2nd. Then the last 2 seasons they finished 17th, but now they're struggling down in the relegation zone. So I'm guessing they're aiming for 17th, which is certainly about the area I'd hope to finish. If we go and look at the club in a bit more detail, their facilities, they've got a brilliant stadium, Oakwell, a place I visited as a Luton fan this year. Unfortunately, it was a 12 o'clock kickoff for the TV, so my overriding memory of it is overpriced train tickets. But nevertheless, it's a brilliant ground, could perfectly compete even in the Premier League should we get there. Good training facilities, good youth facilities, and decent junior coaching and youth recruitment. We've got everything we could want here, and there's no excuses for us not succeeding. We've got to get the team together, and with 10 days of the January window left, hopefully there's a little bit of a budget for our director of football. But let's quickly go through the messages. I'm quite conscious of the fact that I normally just come and show you the squad at a new club. So I'm just going to take you through the whole process so you can see completely what I do from the start. We go through all the messages gradually. We'll do our welcome to Barnsley. We're not going to attend the meeting because that's boring and there's not normally much of it once you've done an interview mid-season. We've got loads of transfer obligations. Declan John's leaving us, a left back. He's a 3-star player, which seems a bit of a shame. Bradford are down in League One, so maybe they know what they're doing. If we've got better left backs than that, I'll be happy, but I'm not quite sure we have. We've got loads of loans in and even more out. I think Declan John's away at the moment there actually, so we won't worry about him for now. An injury update, 2 players, one of them Liam Lindsay, the one who was worth 5 or 6 million. Ingram's out for a few weeks. I've no idea who these players are. Ingram looks like a regen, so none of you will either. Players currently unhappy. 5 of them wanting first team football, and 3 of them are rated 3-star. So if those guys aren't good enough for the first team, I am very optimistic about what we've got here. We'll talk to them all in a moment once we've assessed our squad and just give them an honest answer. We'll tell them if they're in our plans, and if not, we'll just let them go for January. Our director of football can farm them out, and we'll just live with what deals he agrees. We'll worry about our social feed afterwards. We always reject it because it wants to add 100 things. We will take League One off though, now we're no longer in that league, and follow the Championship instead. We've got to choose a captain too. Liam Lindsay was up there with Woodrow behind. We're going to leave it mid-season. It's a rule for me if I join a club in the middle of the season, I never change the captains. If I come in the summer, or once I get to the summer in this one, I'll happily consider it, but never mid-season. Consider that my captain obvious tip of the day. So let's finish off by having a look at what our first game at the club's going to be. We'll do that in the next episode. Cardiff at home, a side that started in the Premier League. That one's tomorrow, so we probably won't have much of an impact there. And they're on an awful run. They haven't won a game since the mid-season break for the World Cup. Their last win as a result was in the 26th of October against Sunderland, barring a couple of friendlies. So we will show the Cardiff game on camera. We've got a few players unavailable, but hopefully it won't cause too much trouble, as we just meet our players for the first time. Last but not least, let's look at the squad. We won't pick a tactic today, but we'll just see what sort of players we've got to play with and think out loud as we're going along. They've got some players on big wages here as well. 13,750 is the highest paid player, and he's not even good enough to be at the club. There's plenty who have got 10 grand or more though, so we're going to have some big egos for the first time in our career. Let's do what we normally do then. We'll go in order of reports. I'm not quite sure whose reports they are. Shall we go and have a quick look? Bobby Hassel, judging ability 10 and 12. I'll just see if there's anyone better before we carry on. There is Andreas Winkler. That's a great name, that one. Tom Harben, he's not better. Devaney's okay. There's quite a few actually who are decent at judging ability, including a fitness coach there too. We'll go back to Winkler. He's got the best and the best name, so we'll stick with him for this one. We'll put them in position order as well, and we'll just do our quick roundup of the 23s and 18s to make sure there's no better options down there. So there we go. We've got Amir Berkovic. What a player he was at Torquay in our other series. He's still at his parent club Barnsley here, so at this club we could be seeing our first cross-save hero, one who's going to be an absolute gem in both stories. Let's hope Berkovic gets involved, although at 2.5-star ability, I'd like him to not be too close to the first team. We'll have a quick look at the 18s as well. A couple of really high potential players there. Byron Lloyd, a centre-half, 16 years old, 2-star ability, 5 potential. He's brilliant. What about Paul Davis, the other one? I'll tell you what, we might have a future centre-half partnership there, and this is a club, for the first time in this series, where instead of firefighting to get above expectations, they're actually performing a little bit below the potential of the club, and we've got room to really develop them and make them a better side. Normally we've taken Slough where they're at the top of their game. Stevenage, you're never going to get above League One. And the likes of Hemel Hempstead and Dungannon were at the level they've always played at. So to get a club who have played in the Premier League before, have competed further up the Championship, we've got a side we can really look forward to managing. Let's quickly go through the players then, in position order. We've got 2 goalkeepers, one of whom's very good. 27-year-old Joe Lumley, 3.5-star ability, 4-star potential. What a keeper. He is a really good player, and he'll definitely be a number 1 at Championship level. I'm very happy with that, and if that represents the standard we're going to see, I'm going to be very happy. Andreas Winkler's suggesting we've got a lot of 3.5 and 4-star players, and if they're as good as Lumley, we're going to have a very good end to the season. So I'm not going to show you all these players, we'll meet them as we go along, but we just want to show you the ones who look like they're standouts for the club. Joel Untezi, I think that is, we'll just call him Joel. He's banned for the next 2 games, but he's a 3.5-star right back, 28 years of age, a Swiss player who's never been an international. He's okay, good physically, but a bit average across the board aside from that. We've got Liam Lindsay, the injured man. When he comes back, it's quite clear why he's the captain. A proper stalwart, a top Championship player, and he's going to be an absolute gem for us. He'll play alongside 20-year-old Alex Jackson, a 3.5-star centre-half. Not great in the air, but a brilliant youth prospect. He's come through at the club, been on loan at Crewe, and he's going to be an absolutely brilliant player for us too. In fact, we might even be playing a back 3, because look at this. Lewis Ingram's 3.5-star as well. He's on loan from Spurs in is just as good. And then we've got a fourth one as well, 18-year-old Tom Burton, another one from the academy, probably just about the worst of the four, but he's going to be an absolute gem too. And you add the two in the under-18s that were already 2-star, and this club could be producing a sea of brilliant centre-halves. Let's have a look at the reports. They're all right up there, and I'm really looking forward to playing 3 at the back if we need to do that for the first time. We've got one standout left back in Scott Malone, at Huddersfield in real life I think, just a real solid player across the board and will do a job for the rest of this season. Let's look into midfield, any standouts there? Juninho Bakuna's one of the best, but he's out on loan at the moment. We can recall him if we want, so here's someone we might be bringing back. He looks a really good player and I think we'll have him back at the club by the next episode. We've got James Garner on loan from United, another 3.5-star player with greater potential, 21 years of age, again really solid across the board and can play naturally in the holding role if we want to do that. Even though he's not one of the standout players, Alex Mowatt's a 3-star player. He's currently there at the moment and was a really hot prospect in FM when he played for Leeds. He's not developed as much as he perhaps would have, but he's one of the highest paid players at the club and has got plenty of experience in midfield. He's been first choice this season so far, so I'm sure he'll be heavily involved in the squad. And then Niall Goodwin, a 19-year-old with 4-star ability, 5-star potential. He's another youth prospect from the club. How have they got such a good youth academy? I'm really looking forward to this now. He looks an absolute superstar, perhaps a little bit aggressive, which we don't want, but physically he's brilliant and he's got a good technique too. Looks a wonderful playmaker and will play a key role for us. Maybe it's just that they've got a very young squad and they're struggling a little bit with confidence. If we can address that and bring in maybe 1 or 2 bits of experience, I think we'll be absolutely flying. Let's move down to the attacking 4 positions. There's a couple of other loanees who are really well rated. Nigel Armstrong's 3.5-star from Fulham on loan. He's a good right winger, very quick but a bit average aside from that. And then Danny Ainsley, a number 10. He can play centre midfield or centre forward. And again, just really good across the board, although he's not so good going backwards. He might be a bit of a luxury player, which I don't know that we can have. If we get to the stage where we're umming and ahhing between 2 players, I'll always pick the one who's a permanent here, as there's some really quality youngsters here who could even take this side up to the Premier League. And then it looks like there's 2 brilliant forwards at the club, as well as Mamadou Thiam off the left. He can play as a winger or a striker. A natural on the left, was the real star player actually when I went up to watch Barnsley with Luton. Again, just a really solid player across the board and physically and mentally strong. Moving to the front 2, Corley Woodrow we mentioned, a Luton youth prospect, went to Fulham, it hasn't worked out, but he's now scored at 1 in 3 for Barnsley over a period of 5 years. He's a really solid target man and he can play as an advanced forward too. We'll certainly work him into our formation. And then last but not least, Victor Adeboyejo, a 4-star striker, lots of pace, a good finisher and plays as the advanced forward. So we've got to work a formation that fits a front 2, a back 3 potentially, and also 2 strong midfielders. So I'm really not sure what I'm going to do here. It doesn't seem like the squad's been built around any tactic, although I guess that's difficult when you're producing different young players every season. There's plenty of homegrown prospects at the club, so hopefully we can get the fans behind the team. And I don't know about you, but now I've seen this squad, I am absolutely licking my lips at the prospect of managing this team. They're a brilliant set of players, and I really think we can get them out of trouble and even build them towards the Premier League over the next 2 years. Now we're managing at a bigger reputation club with all the facilities and stadium in place. We don't need to be in such a hurry to look for jobs and leave. We just want to keep this lot up and then build something special. So hopefully you'll join me for the ride with Barnsley. But if you did enjoy this episode, please put a thumbs up on it. Let me know in the comments, having looked at this squad briefly, where you think we need to strengthen. Hopefully our director of football will do that. And what formation shall I play? I'm absolutely stumped by that idea. I'm sure I'll come up with something, but I'm not quite sure what's best at the moment. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories. This one where we're now with Barnsley, with plenty to look forward to. And our other series, Part of the Furniture with Torquay United, where we're in a surprise playoff push in our first season in League One. There's also weekly content from my FIFA 19 lower league career, as well as our Newcastle series from FM19 Touch. But a massive thanks for watching this one as always, and putting up with my croaky voice once again. And we'll see you next time for our first game with Barnsley.